Life can change in an instant. For 16-year-old Jake Martinez, that moment came when he spotted two suspicious men following Barron Trump through Sterling Mall. Jake had a choice: follow the rules and keep his much-needed job at the luxury watch store, or help a boy in danger. He chose to support and lost everything, or so he thought. Within 24 hours of being fired, he would find himself at the center of a criminal conspiracy, a viral social media sensation, and a secret FBI investigation. But most importantly, he was about to discover that doing the right thing, even when it costs you everything, can lead to surprises beyond your wildest dreams. The usual morning. Jake Martinez's alarm buzzed at exactly 5:30 a.m., just like it did every morning. He quickly shut it off before it could wake his mom in the next room. She needed all the rest she could get these days. As Jake quietly prepared for work, the early morning darkness filled their two-bedroom apartment. "Another day, another dollar," Jake whispered as he pulled on his white dress shirt and black pants, the required uniform for his job at Morrison's Luxury Watches in Sterling Mall. Jake found a note from his mom on the counter in the kitchen. "Mio, there's breakfast in the fridge. Don't forget your lunch. Love you, Mama." His ride to work. He smiled, pulling out the breakfast burrito she'd made him. Jake wrapped the burrito in paper towel and grabbed his backpack. The number 47 bus was right on time at 6:15 a.m. Jake climbed aboard, nodding hello to Mr. Washington. "Early bird gets the worm, Jake," Mr. Washington called out with his usual cheerful greeting. "Yes, sir, that's the plan." He had a text from his best friend, Carlos. "Dude, are you coming to practice after work?" Jake sighed as he typed back, "I can't today. Extra shift. I need the money." Carlos replied quickly, "Coach keeps asking about you." Jake stared at the message for a moment before putting his phone away. He missed playing basketball with the school team, but he had to consider what was necessary. Sterling Mall. The sun started rising as the bus pulled up to Sterling Mall. The vast glass building gleamed in the morning light. Jake finished the last bite of his breakfast burrito and straightened his tie. "Good morning, Jake," called out Maria from the coffee shop as he walked through the employee entrance. She was already setting up for the morning rush of shoppers who needed their expensive lattes. "Morning, Maria. Busy day ahead?" "Always is." "Hey, save me one of those fancy watches, okay?" She laughed, knowing neither of them could ever afford the watches Jake sold. The mall was quiet this early, with only the cleaning crew finishing up their night shift and store employees starting to arrive. Watches worth more than his mom made in a year sat on display, their faces catching the morning light. Handling the inventory. Mr. Morrison was waiting when Jake arrived. "Right on time, Jake. We have a shipment of new pieces coming in this morning. I want you to handle the inventory while I update the window display." "Yes, sir," Jake said eagerly. As Jake carefully logged each new watch into the store's computer system, he couldn't help doing the math. The cheapest watch in the store cost $33,000. It would take him 200 hours to afford just one of these watches, and some of them cost more than $50,000. Two different worlds. During his lunch break, Jake sat in the food court with his packed lunch. Sometimes it felt like he was living in two different worlds. His phone buzzed with another text from his mom. "Don't forget to pick up my prescription after work. Love you." Jake checked his wallet, counting the cash he had left. As he returned to the store, Jake noticed a group of teens, his age, hanging out by the fountain. He wished he could be that carefree for a moment, but he remembered he had responsibilities. Mr. Morrison was assisting a customer when Jake returned, so he started organizing the repair orders for the day. Jake had no idea that everything in his life would change in just a few hours. A tall, well-dressed boy. He noticed a tall, well-dressed boy about his age walking past the store, looking lost. He was about to return to work when he saw two men in hoodies following a short distance behind the boy, trying to look casual but watching him. Jake's heart began beating faster. Should he do something? It wasn't his business, and he couldn't leave the store unattended. Something didn't feel right. The lost-looking boy glanced around nervously, and suddenly Jake realized why he looked familiar. His eyes widened as he recognized Barron Trump, the president's son. Jake's hands felt sweaty as he gripped the edge of the counter. The two men in hoodies were getting closer to him. Barron was unaware of the danger behind him. Doing the right thing. "Mr. Morrison," Jake called out, I need to use the bathroom." His boss barely looked up from the display case. "Make it quick, Jake. We've got a busy afternoon ahead." Jake's heart pounded as he walked. Running would draw attention. He'd learned that from all the crime shows he watched with his mom. He picked up his pace as soon as he was out of Mr. Morrison's sight. Barron was tall for his age, just like Jake, making him easy to spot in a crowd. The two men were about 20 feet behind Barron now. One had a tattoo peeking out from his sleeve, and the other kept his right hand in his pocket. Jake's mind raced. He couldn't just grab the president's son. That would probably get him arrested, or worse. But he had to do something. He thought about his mom's voice. "Sometimes doing the right thing is scary, Mio, but that makes it brave." Evading the hooded men. Taking a deep breath, Jake walked quickly until he was beside Barron. "Hey," he said in a friendly voice, "I've been looking all over for you." Barron started to step back, confusion and fear flashing across his face. Jake leaned closer and whispered urgently, "I work at the mall. There are two men following you. Don't look back. Just act like you know me and come with me right now." Barron gave a tiny nod. "Oh, yeah, sorry," Barron roared. "I lost track of time." Jake could feel the men's eyes on them as he guided Barron toward the service corridor near the food court. The door to the service hallway required an employee keycard. "Almost there," Jake muttered. "Just act normal." He risked a glance behind them. The two men had split up. One was heading straight for them. Thinking on their feet. While the others circled toward the food court entrance, they tried to cut off any escape routes. Jake's fingers trembled as he pulled out his keycard. If he were wrong about this, he'd probably get arrested for trying to kidnap the president's son. But if he was right… The keycard reader beeped, and Jake pulled Barron into the service corridor through the door. As soon as the door clicked shut behind them, "Where are we going?" Barron asked, his voice shaking slightly. Heavy footsteps. "Security office," Jake panted as they ran. "There's no public access, so those guys can't follow you." The door behind them banged open. Heavy footsteps echoed in the concrete corridor. "Run!" Jake shouted. Jake knew these back corridors from his early morning shifts when he sometimes helped the maintenance crew move heavy boxes. Right now, that knowledge might save their lives. They turned a corner and Jake saw the service elevator ahead. Next to it was a door marked "Stairs, Employees Only." Jake yanked it open and pushed Barron through. They took the stairs two at a time, the sound of pursuit getting closer. Jake's dress shoes weren't made for running, and he nearly slipped on the metal stairs. Barron grabbed his arm, helping him stay upright. Reaching the security office. They burst out of the stairwell into another corridor. "Help! Security!" Everything happened very fast. After that, security guards poured out of the office behind them. Jake heard their pursuers skid to a stop and run back up the stairs. Within seconds, the corridor was filled with serious-looking men in dark suits who seemed to appear out of nowhere, the Secret Service finally showing up. "Are you hurt?" one demanded, checking Barron while others spoke rapidly into their radios. "I'm okay," Barron said. He helped me." He pointed at Jake, who suddenly found himself surrounded by agents. The agents taking charge. "How did you know?" one of them asked sharply. "Who told you to bring him here?" Jake's mouth felt dry. "I saw those guys following him and something didn't look right. I work here at Morrison's Watches. You can check." "We need to verify your story," the agent cut him off. "Please, I need to let my boss know where I am. He doesn't know I left the store. I could lose my job," said Jake. The agents exchanged looks. One of them spoke directly into his radio, then turned to Jake. "We'll send someone to inform your supervisor. Right now, you need to tell us everything you saw." The inquiry. Jake was led into a small office for questioning. He saw Barron being hurried away by another group of agents. The younger Trump turned back momentarily and mouthed "thank you" before disappearing around a corner. Jake sat in an uncomfortable chair while agents repeatedly asked him the same questions. What exactly had he seen? Why had he decided to help? How did he know about the service corridors? Finally, after what seemed like hours, they let him go. An agent walked him back upstairs to Morrison's luxury watches. Jake was shocked that it was almost closing time. Mr. Morrison was waiting. "Jake," he said swiftly, "I need to see you in my office." Jake knew what was coming. He'd broken the most significant rule: never leave the store unattended. Employment being terminated. "Jake, I'm afraid we need to talk about what happened today." The small office suddenly seemed too warm, too cramped. Jake could see the last customers leaving the store through the window as the mall prepared to close. The Secret Service agents explained what happened, Mr. Morrison began, straightening a stack of papers on his desk. They said you helped prevent a potentially dangerous situation. Jake's heart lifted slightly. However, Mr. Morrison continued, you left the store completely unattended for over 45 minutes, with over $2 million worth of merchandise on display. Store policy is apparent, Jake. No employee is ever to leave their post without proper coverage. He sighed heavily. You know this. We went over it extensively in your training. Jake responded, but sir, I saw someone in danger. I couldn't just… You could have called security. You could have alerted mall management. You could have done many things that didn't involve abandoning your post. Mr. Morrison pulled out a form from his desk drawer. I'm sorry, Jake, but I have no choice. We're going to have to terminate your employment, effective immediately. Did not know how to deliver the sad news. Please, Mr. Morrison, Jake's voice cracked. I need this job. I promise nothing like this will ever happen again. My hands are tied, Mr. Morrison said, pushing the termination form across the desk. Jake stared at the form. You'll receive your final paycheck by mail, Mr. Morrison said, his voice softening slightly. And Jake, for what it's worth, I think you did a brave thing today. I'll gladly provide a reference for your next job, not for anything involving security or valuable merchandise. As he walked, his phone buzzed. Did you pick up my prescription? He'd forgotten entirely about the prescription and all the chaos. The pharmacy would be closed now, and he didn't have enough money for it anyway. Sorry, Mama, the pharmacy was closed. I'll get it tomorrow. He couldn't tell her about losing his job, not over text. A sad evening. As Jake climbed the stairs, he caught the familiar scent of someone cooking dinner, probably Mrs. Rodriguez in 3B making her famous enchiladas. Usually the smell made him hungry. Today it just made his stomach hurt worse. Inside, he found his mom sitting at their small kitchen table. She was holding a piece of paper, her shoulders shaking as silent tears ran down her face. Mama? Jake rushed to her side. What's wrong? Are you okay? She quickly wiped her eyes and forced a smile. Oh, I didn't hear you come in. She tried to hide the paper, but Jake saw the hospital letterhead. She hesitated, then handed him the paper. It was a medical bill. Breaking the news. She saw something in his face that made her sit upright. Jake, she said, her voice gentle but firm, what's wrong? He couldn't hold it in any longer. The whole story came pouring out, recognizing Barron Trump, seeing the suspicious men, the chase through the service corridors, the questioning by the Secret Service, and finally being fired. He had let her down. Then Jake felt his mother's arms around him, pulling him into a tight hug. My brave, wonderful boy, she said firmly. God never gives us more than we can handle. The Secret Service. Then the phone rang. Jake jumped. The number was blocked. He almost didn't answer it, but something made him pick up. Hello? A deep voice responded. Is this Jake Martinez? Yes. Please hold for a moment. Then a new voice came on the line, a voice he recognized from TV. Young man, the voice said, steady and authoritative, we need to talk about what happened at the mall today. It was James Cooper, the head of the Secret Service. He'd seen him on TV giving speeches about protecting the president's family. I'm sending a team to your location, Cooper said. They'll be there in approximately 10 minutes. We need to discuss some sensitive information about today's incident. Am I in trouble? There was a pause on the line. No, son, you're not in trouble. But what you witnessed today is part of something much bigger. The line went dead. He turned to his mom and explained what had just happened. The Secret Service is coming here. Precisely 10 minutes later. She jumped up. Dios mío, this place is a mess. Despite his nerves, Jake almost smiled. Precisely 10 minutes later, there was a firm knock at the door. Jake opened it to find 3 people in dark suits, 2 men and a woman. They held up their badges. Agents Chen, Rodriguez, and Taylor, the woman said. Agent Rodriguez turned to Jake's mother. Mrs. Martinez, he said kindly, would you mind if we spoke with your son privately? She said, with all due respect, my son is 16. You can say anything you need to say to him in front of me. They nodded. We're going to show you some surveillance footage from the mall, he said. We need you to confirm what you saw. High-profile kidnapping. The screen flickered to life, showing different camera angles of Jake's encounter with Barron. The footage was shockingly clear. He could even see the worried expression on his face as he approached Barron. "Now we're going to show you some images," she said. "Tell us if you recognize anyone." When they reached the fourth picture, he sat up straighter. "That's one of them, the guy with the tattoo on his arm. And that one, he's the other man who was following Barron. Marcus Delgado and Ray Keller," he said. "They're part of a criminal organization known for high-profile kidnappings." "What we're about to tell you is classified," Agent Chen continued. "These men have been trying to get close to Barron Trump for weeks. Today, they created a diversion, separating him from his protection team. They knew who Jake was. If you hadn't intervened, they might have succeeded." Jake swallowed hard. "Your quick thinking and knowledge of the mall's layout disrupted a sophisticated operation," she added. "But why are you telling me this?" Jake questioned. "Because we need your help. We've arrested Delgado and Keller," Rodriguez continued, "but their organization is still out there. And now they know who you are." A chill ran down Jake's spine. Footage of him helping Barron. His mother's voice was sharp with fear. "What do you mean they know who he is?" they continued. "They identified him from the mall footage. We're monitoring their communications, and we know they view Jake as a threat, someone who ruined their carefully planned operation," Agent Taylor babbled, sensing a panic. "We're setting up protection for you and your family, but we also need your assistance. You saw something today that could help us bring down this entire organization." As they worked, Jake's phone kept buzzing. He ignored it at first, but during a break he glanced at the screen. Someone had posted mall security footage of him helping Barron. "Great," Agent Rodriguez muttered. "We were hoping to keep this quiet a little longer." "Your safety is what matters." "Don't worry about the media attention," Agent Chen said. "We'll handle that. Right now, we must focus on keeping you safe while building our case." By the time the agents left, it was past midnight. "Mama, you should get some rest," Jake said gently. "You have work tomorrow." She shook her head. "I'm calling in sick. I'm not leaving you alone after what they told us," she said firmly. "Your safety is what matters, Mio." The warning. By 3 a.m., his regular phone lit up one last time. No caller ID, no number, just a message. 6 words. And they made his blood run cold. "You should have minded your business." Jake's hands trembled as he took a screenshot of the message and sent it to Agent Rodriguez's secure number. Within moments, his phone rang. "We traced the message," Agent Rodriguez said. "It came from a burner phone, but we're working on it. Listen, Jake, things are going to get complicated tomorrow. The story's gone viral." Reporters crawling like bugs. "We need to move fast," Agent Chen said. "Reporters are gathering outside your building." Jake's mom grabbed the remote and turned on the TV. Their apartment building, live on the morning news. Reporters stood outside, shoving microphones in their neighbors' faces. "What can you tell us about Jake Martinez, the teen hero from 3C? One neighbor shrugged. "Nice kid. Didn't know he was famous." "Morrison's Watches is getting slammed," Agent Taylor added. "Their Yelp page is flooded with 1-star reviews. People are organizing protests outside the mall." Did not seek for attention. Jake said, "But I don't want all this attention." The agents exchanged looks. "It's too late for that. We can't stop it," Agent Rodriguez said gently. "But we can help you manage it. Right now, our priority is keeping you safe." Jake's regular phone buzzed nonstop. Old friends from school, distant relatives, reporters, and talk show producers. Then his mom's phone rang. Maria, her hospital supervisor, said, "Why didn't you tell me your son was the mall hero? Take as much time off as you need, with pay. And don't worry about those medical bills we discussed. The hospital board is working something out." Better late than never. Jake watched her face, stunned. "They're going to help with the bills," she whispered. "They said it would be bad publicity to make the hero's mother pay when she works for them." Before Jake could respond, Agent Taylor's phone buzzed. She read the message and raised an eyebrow. "The White House press secretary just released a statement thanking you for your bravery and condemning Morrison's Watches for firing you." Jake barely had time to process that before Agent Chen added, "Speaking of which, Mr. Morrison has been trying to reach you. He wants to offer your job back with a promotion and a raise." Hashtag thank you, Jake. Jake let out a short, bitter laugh. "I don't want it. Not after how he treated me." Calls didn't stop. A local car dealership wanted to give him a car, even though he didn't have his license yet. A clothing company offered a sponsorship deal. 3 different colleges were interested in providing him with full-ride scholarships. His mom sat down heavily, rubbing her temples. "This is too much." Jake turned to her, suddenly noticing how pale she looked, and she was coughing more than usual. "Mama, didn't you take your medicine?" he asked quietly. She shook her head. "The pharmacy, I'll handle it." Agent Rodriguez cut in, overhearing, "Give me the prescription information." By midday, their tiny apartment had become command central for what the media had officially dubbed the Jake Martinez story. Secret Service agents moved purposefully, coordinating outside security to keep reporters at bay. Jake's social media accounts had exploded, thousands of new followers overnight. Hashtag Thank You Jake was the #1 trending worldwide topic. Traced the threat. Then came the message they'd been waiting for. Agent Chen's phone buzzed with an alert. She read the screen, her expression shifting. "We've got something." The room went silent. "The threat Jake received last night," she continued, "we traced it through some back channels. It led us to a warehouse in Maryland. We think it's their base of operations." The atmosphere in the apartment changed in an instant. The chaos of social media and reporters outside faded into the background. This wasn't about internet fame anymore. This was real. Right thing always matters. Jake could have just minded his own work, thought about his family's security, but he stepped forward to help someone, a stranger, no less. In these uncertain times, having such character is not just appreciated, but valued more than gold. The story of Jake is one of many examples. Hope this teaches us something, and stay tuned for more. If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon